So today's topic is basically, it's about transcending fear and finding hope. So transcending fear and finding hope, in some sense, it's like a contradiction, and that, you know, fear and hope, they always kind of go together. You can never really get rid of fear. I say, get rid of fear, have only hope. That doesn't work. Or you can never not have fear and have a lot of hope. That never happens. So somehow the fear and hope, they definitely go together. But the question here is more about, you know, to have balance of kind of having, not having too much fear and not having too much hope, but having enough hope that it supports your life, not too much fear that it does not interfere with your life. I think that's really like basically we what we're trying to do. Is the same way we always talk about how ego is bad, and we complain about each other, you're egoistic and so on. But who has no ego? We all have an ego. So it's not, there's no way not to have an ego. It's like this world is running from the ego. It's continuously. The only place, if you're in the teaching principle, only place there is no ego is when you achieve enlightenment. So if you achieve enlightenment, I won't be teaching this webcast and you won't be listening here. So this is not going to happen. So the ego is part of our life. So it's a question about not ruled by ego, but guide our ego, not controlled by our ego, but use our ego. So to have a better relationship with our ego. So this is what we are trying to talk here, is to have a better relationship with our ego. So these teachings are very much about that. So what is fear? For example, transcending fear. What is fear? What is the really like the root cause of fear? I think maybe it's a little bit difficult to understand for us to what is the root cause of fear. And according to the teaching, what is the root cause of fear? It's very much that it's a lack of self-realization. So basically, lack of self-realization, lack of knowing yourself, lack of not having connection to yourself. And so that is clearly a primary cause of fear. And then as a secondary cause of fear it manifests when you don't know yourself. You are always in search of yourself. You are always looking and trying to find yourself. But where you're looking and finding yourself is not you're looking inward, trying to find truly who you are, but you're looking outside and trying to substitute that or replace that who you are. And any time when we do that, we identify that it's trying to find a life partner, that we find somebody, we kind of identify that person ourselves, or we're trying to find a job that we identify ourselves, or power that we identify ourselves. Even sometimes weakness we identify ourselves, even our pain that we identify ourselves. We basically sometimes you identify yourself like a very egoistic way, like you're identifying with what you have accomplished, like that. Or sometimes you go all the way down, identifying with what you don't have, what your problem is, what your pain is. People identify that well also. So sometimes, some way, people always manage to identify with something, and whatever you identify with, it always becomes a cause of suffering and cause of pain, and obviously it's cause of fear. So that all those outer manifestations which you identify with, it becomes like a secondary cause of fear. And not knowing yourself, not lack of the self-realization, is the kind of primary cause of the fear. So obviously, the true way to overcome fear will be to able to self-realize, to understand who you are. That would be one simple answer, how you overcome your fear. So that since that's not going to happen right away, so we have to talk about how we deal with our fear rather than how we completely overcome our fear. So if you're trying to completely overcome your fear, that might cause you also fear. So let's forget about that for a moment, not to think about completely overcoming fear. Let's think about how to work with the fear. So how to work with the fear is, I think one of the thing is, like anything in life, how you work with anything, how you work with your life, how you work with your job, how you work with your social services, how you work with family members, friends, your partner. How you work is you've got to have a connection to them. So if you do not have a connection with particularly if you don't have a connection with anybody, you're not going to be able to work. So look at the closest situations where you are trying to resolve a conflict. You can really not resolve a conflict with anybody unless you find a connection with those people. There's no way. So you have to find a connection, and even your loved ones, like if there is a conflict situation, in order to resolve that, you have to connect with. So connection is the most important thing in terms of any resolving any issues, clearing any conflict and pain, any healing. It's most important. So the question is, if your question is, if this moment in your life, if you are facing with a lot of fears, so this moment in your life, if you're facing a lot of fears, challenges or fears, the question for you is, do you have a relationship with your fear? Do you have a connection to your fear? I'm not talking about, for example, when you hate your fear. That's not a connection. When you're trying to reject your fear, that's not a connection. That's you're trying to, in fact, rejecting. In fact, you're trying to disconnect with fear. Are you trying to avoid your fear? That's not a way of connecting. Are you suppressing your fear? That's not a way of connecting. Are you trying to change the story, trying to pretend that you're not afraid of things? That's not the way of connection. Are you trying to advise somebody saying, don't worry about it, everything will be fine? That's not the way of connecting. Are you trying to convince yourself to just kind of voice a fear voice telling to your fearful emotion, voice of fear telling to a fearful emotion saying, everything will be fine, don't worry about it, it will be okay? Are you trying to do that? That's not the way of connecting, because all the list that I just gave is the way of disconnecting. None of them connects. So I'm sure probably you are doing all of them or many of them and thinking that you are trying to connect with them. You got it wrong. So that's not how it works. So that's just, I think, the first, I think it's very important to just recognize that what I just said, recognize that probably many of you are doing exactly what I just said. So this is the moment where it's important, as I'm speaking, as you're listening, as you're reflecting, this is the great moment to recognize, if you are doing it, if you are, each one of you, if you are doing specific things that what I just said in the list of things, is your moment to recognize, yes, it's very true, I have been avoiding it for a long time. And those of you are who you are, hearing that way, if you are being aware of that, recognizing that this is your moment of recognition. This moment, you are recognizing it. And this recognition will clearly help you. And those other of you are, if you are trying to suppress it, and this is your moment to recognize it. And many times people are trying to change stories. If you are trying to do that, that is your moment to recognize that you are changing the story. Yes, I have been changing story. I've been I have created all new different story in my life in relation to my fear, so I can avoid seeing it and connecting with it. If that is the case, this is your moment to recognize it. So it's all this list of things that I just spoke. This is about exactly what we usually do, and we somehow think or we feel we are working with our fear, or we are healing our fear. We are trying to overcome our fear. But the truth is, you will not heal, you will not overcome. In some cases, you might make it worse by doing those things. And also, the truth is that what we are doing is so, I say, inefficient. Because if you look, how much time you have been doing this. So I'm talking about each one of you, the specific thing that you have been doing, that you have recognized. Look at amount of time, how long you have been doing this. Very long. How much effort you have gone into that? A lot. How much it drains you? A lot. How much more complicated situation it created for you and other, and disconnecting with the situation with the people? A lot. So it didn't do any good, but it maybe brought some damages, took a lot of effort, but no outcome. So it's very inefficient way of handling it. Okay, so I hope that's clear enough now. So let's move into the second part of, so what will be the right way of handling the fear? First of all, as I said, to have better relationship with it. So in order to have a better relationship with it, you have to be with it.